Hi, my name's Richard. I'm a cosplayer. And back around 2017, it's when the second season of Stranger Things was airing or had aired, October, I think. I decided I'm going to put together the cosplay, the costume of Chief Jim Hopper's Hawkins Police Chief uniform. And I came upon this great internet chat forum called the RPF. And the people there were terrific at identifying all the different elements of Hopper's costume and then finding sources. Where can you acquire these things? And so I learned a lot there. And so basically I owe everything that I know about the costume to the people there on that forum. And I looked around at that time on YouTube, and there was nothing on YouTube about any kind of tutorial to put together the costume. So I go, okay, I'll do a series of videos. And it takes a series because there's a lot of stuff. The first video was on his, and I'm only doing his, like the season 1 and season 2 Hawkins police uniform. I'm not doing his civilian clothes or anything like that. So the first video is his uniform shirt with the patches, the name tag, the badge, the pen, the undershirt, then his trousers, the belts, his belt changes from season 1 to season 2, his boots. And then the last video was on all the kind of ancillary things. So the heavy winter coat that he wears in season 2, the turquoise wristband or scrunchie, the watch with a little compass, and so forth. And I even have a coffee mug, I have prop donuts, I have prop cigarettes, and so forth that, kind of to the character. And which leaves 2 items, which are, each of them are pretty complicated and really need their own videos. And one is the hat, and one is the revolver and the holster, and revolvers because they change in different seasons. So about the hat, the first thing for a cosplayer to understand if you're putting together the costume is that Hopper's hat is not a law enforcement hat. It's not a state trooper hat, a police hat, a sheriff's hat. It's a civilian hat. It's a fedora. And specifically, they call it a C crown fedora, I guess because of this is like a C. Or you'll see it called a teardrop fedora because like this. But it's a civilian hat. And the other thing that's interesting about the hat is that the Duffer Brothers went into the production in their mind that Hopper would not wear a hat. Now, why is this? It's because that the whole look of Chief Hopper, the look of the other officers on the Hawkins Police Department, and even down to the shape of the patch and the car that Hopper drives, all this is based on the Amity Police Department from the film Jaws. It's this Duffer Brothers homage thing. Now, David Harbour was going to do his audition, and they sent him the script for the entire episode 1, season 1, episode 1. And Harbour's reading this, loved it, but the first time you see Hopper, he's like passed out on the couch. He's been popping pills, he's been drinking, he's not taking care of himself, and he's a mess. And David Harbour, like actors do, David Harbour felt that Hopper is going to wear a hat. He's popping pills, maybe he's a little high, he's going to want to hide his eyes. And also, Harbour, kind of like actors will do, kind of came up with a backstory, which I don't know if it's the Duffer, I don't think the Duffer Brothers came up with it or it's in the script or anything, but Harbour came up with it, this backstory where, Hopper grew up in this sleepy small town of Hawkins, then he moves to the big city, he moves to New York, he gets a job with the New York Police Department, and there at one point I think it's about 5 years before that season 1 begins, Hopper's life falls apart. He loses his daughter, he gets divorced from his wife, he leaves the police department, New York Police Department. Now, is he fired? Does he just quit? And that he might have been Harbor's concept is that Hopper might have been involved, like say in Serpico, like some, really bad stuff, and maybe he just kind of had to get out. And he returns kind of with his tail between his legs back to the little town that he grew up in. And so that's another thing, is that Harbor thought that maybe Hopper is, maybe on the run from something, maybe hiding from something. Anyway, he needed a hat. So, and David Harbor wore a hat to the audition. It was just a baseball hat, but still, so he had that thing going on. And so when he got the gig, he goes to this hat maker in New York City named Orlando Palacios. His company is called Worth and Worth. Worth and Worth by Orlando Palacios. And they had made a hat for David Harbor like a year or two before for a film premiere, a bespoke hat, a custom hat. And David Harbor just really loved their work. So he goes to Orlando Palacios and says, I need a hat for this thing I have coming up. And Palacios goes, well, I need to know something about the character. So David Harbor goes into kind of this backstory that he invented about the character, that Hopper was born around 1943. His dad was in the Army. Maybe his dad doesn't come back from World War II. And that Hopper's always wears this hat that was his dad's hat. And so so it's a little wonky, it's had some wear, it's a little faded. And Orlando Palacios, working with David Harbor, comes up with this hat concept and makes a hat for Harbor, which then Harbor takes to Los Angeles to meet up with the Duffer Brothers. And Harbor shows them the hat, and the Duffer Brothers we hate it. And David Harbor goes, well, the character needs a hat. And they go, no, Hopper doesn't need a hat. And he goes, well, I think he does need a hat. He needs an iconic hat. He needs like the pork pie hat in French Connection, like Indiana Jones fedora. It should be iconic, like the season 2 Stranger Things poster will just show the hat. And David Harbor eventually did win that battle. He got the Duffer Brothers to sign off on the hat. So now you're a cosplayer and you want to put together the hat. Now I realize that in cosplay, there's this whole spectrum where one end of it you have 100% screen accurate, money is no object. And at the other end you have, I have a Halloween costume party to go to tomorrow night. And what I got in the closet? I got an old brown cowboy hat, and I have like a khaki shirt. I know I'll do Indiana Jones. No, I'll do that sheriff dude from Stranger Things. And so you just grab whatever, and it's called closet cosplay, and I've done that. But I usually want to be over in the screen accurate end of things. And indeed, with this costume, tons of the elements of the costume, you can get the 100% screen accurate thing for not 1 cent more than it would cost to buy a non-screen accurate thing. So a lot of it is really easy to put together a 100% screen accurate costume. The hat, not so much. So what avenues are there if you want to have a screen accurate hat? Well, the number one avenue is to go to Worth and Worth in New York City, and they sell it. They just call it the Hopper. I haven't seen one in person, but I've seen photographs of them, and they look really good. I mean, they look dead ringer for the hats that they made, because there have been multiples, the hats that they made for the show. Now, but that's $750. And I'm not going to pay $750 for a hat. I know it's not that big of a deal for Indiana Jones cosplayers, but to me it is. So what else can you do? Well, the second thing is maybe you know a bespoke hat maker who doesn't charge that much. Maybe they only charge $500 or something. So you can save a few $100s and go to the bespoke hat maker. And if the person has a really good eye and you provide the person with a lot of good screenshots showing the hat from all the different angles so they can understand the geometry of it, and if they can replicate this color, then you can probably get a completely screen accurate hat that route. Now, the hat that Orlando Palacios made for the show was based on a vintage open road, Stetson open road. And Hopper's hat isn't a standard color Stetson still offers called caribou. And you can get an open road and it has the same 2 3/4 inch brim. It has the same kind of tall crown. And so you, in an open road, a new open road costs around $300. So it's less than half of what the Worth and Worth Hopper costs. The problem with that is that the open road that Stetson make comes with what's called a cattleman crease, and has like three parallel creases that go fore to aft. And also the Stetson open road comes with a strongly flanged brim, so like the brim's kind of curved like this. They put it on a form to get that, and so I didn't want that stuff. So I contacted Stetson, can I buy an open road with an open crown? What's an open crown? An open crown is like this kind of featureless round dome, the way that the hats are earlier in the process of making them, before they put them on a form that makes the crown. And Stetson said, no, we're not going to do that. So I had to buy one and shape it myself. So for the top, to get from that cattleman's crease to the open crown, this plain dome, now at Hat Shop they have a steaming device. I don't have one of those, so I just used pure water, distilled water, in a spritzer, and you can take out the lining. It's not glued in or sewn in or anything. You just remove it so you can get to the felt from both sides, and got it nice and wet. And I brought it to that open crown shape, and then I just shaped this by hand. You know, you're just kind of forming this, and you can kind of adjust how high it is. And if you notice it's lower in the back, it goes higher up in front a little bit. You can make that however you want. At first I had it too low, then I brought it up higher. And then these dimples, or these indentations here, are pretty long. They go pretty far back on the hat, where a lot of fedoras, they're just at the front. So I had a bunch of screenshots, and as I'm shaping the hat, I'm looking at the screenshots, holding it from different angles and so forth until everything looks exactly right. Then for the brim, because I didn't want the flanged brim, I talked to people that know hats, and they said you can just iron it. Well, of course, you don't want to put the iron directly on the felt. What you want to do is, of course, you have to get it either steamed or wet with a spritzer, and then you want to cover it with a cloth. And you don't want like a pattern, like woven, a 3D pattern woven into the cloth, because that's going to get pressed into the hat. You don't want that. So I pressed the brim totally flat. And so I got the crown right, and the brim is very complicated because I thought at first it had that flange, and it kind of does in some shots, but it's very subtle, and it's more around the back, especially around the sides and front. It flattens out. So you kind of want to start with a flat brim, and it has a subtle, what's called a pencil crown, or a pencil curl around the edge. So what's a pencil curl? That's this, and they don't use a pencil. They have like a tool. Of course, they have the steamer thing, and they have a tool that goes around and puts this really strong, called pencil curl in the brim. Now Hopper's isn't like that. It's very low, and it's right at the edge. It's just this low, subtle pencil curl, and it gets reduced towards the front where it almost kind of disappears. And then also part of the backstory of the hat is supposed to be kind of old and worn and faded, and like at some point the hat band, those little satin band that goes around, fell off, and so that's like supposedly the original darker color underneath. And so when I was done, I just had to paint that on, and the ones in the show have it like that. So when I was done, I think this, I can hold this up with different screenshots, and this is really accurate. I think it's just as accurate as the Worth and Worth hat, or probably anything a bespoke hat maker could make. To me, it's pretty much 100% screen accurate. Oh, and you have a bound brim, of course. Now, another route to go, let's say you don't want to, and this, an open road is around $300 new. Let's say that's too pricey for you. A little bit cheaper is another Stetson thing, and you can get the same color, the caribou, but the hat's a little less expensive, and that's called the Stratoliner. And if you notice, the brim is more narrow. This is only a 2.5-inch brim, where the Open Road has a 2 3/4-inch brim. And also you can see how much tall, it's just a bigger hat. You can see how much taller the crown is. So it's gonna look a little small on your head, but it comes this way, so you don't have to shape it yourself. Then also slightly lower, but these are like, what, $250, something like that new. But either of these you can pick up used for around $100. I've seen them on eBay a lot. And then a slightly lower price point yet is there's a really good Australian hat company called Akubra. And they have a color they call Regency Fawn, which is, I haven't compared it in person, so I don't know if it's really exactly the same, but in photographs it looks pretty much the same as the Stetson Caribou color. It looks really good. And the Regency Fawn, I mean, the style of hat that Akubra makes that you'd want to get is called the Camp Draft. And it comes open crown, it comes with a crown like this, and it comes with a pretty flat brim. And so you just need, I think you pretty much leave the brim how it is, or do a little bit of shaping if you want to be 100% screen accurate, but you can, shape the crown exactly right. So that's another way to get a screen accurate hat. And those, the Akubra, it's called the Camp Draft, and they have the bound brim too. I've seen them for around $200. Now, of course, if that's too much, you can always go to, shop on, thrift stores, charity shops, or, look on eBay for old hats and just find something, sort of in the range. Because the color does look different in different shots. So that gives a cosplayer a little bit of leeway. There's shots where it looks a little more brown, shots where it looks gray, shots where it looks almost slightly olive green. So you can get away with Hopper's hat for a little range of colors there. So that'll end this, and then the next video will be on the revolvers and the holster.